What's your NSFW college story? Story 1. A girl bet a friend of mine that if he could eat 18 ice cream Snicker bars in 30 minutes, she would give him a blowy. He finished in 18. She backed out of the deal, so all he won was the admiration of his peers and a massive stomach ache. The same friend almost got kicked out of school for crapping on the bra of a girl from our dorm. The details are not terribly important. He had a student affairs trial and had to testify about pooping on the bra in front of all these university higher-ups and what he learned from it. A lot of the people on our floor went in support to testify, essentially saying, sure, he crapped on the bra, but he's a good guy. I felt terrible because he only took that decisive dump because I told him it would be funny. Story 2. Had a dorm mate who was a virgin, and we were at a frat party. He had not been feeling well, but really wanted to go. He had low self-confidence, and this emo/goth chubby chick started talking to him. We tried to talk him out of leaving with her, but to no avail. He was back in less than half an hour, dressed, wet hair, and you could see he'd been crying. Supposedly, they got back to her single dorm, and she had clear plastic bed sheets. So they started messing around, and he's exploring her nervously. I guess at some point he straddled her, and she was playing with his dong while fingering herself. She then moved her hand up and slid her lubed finger in his butt, and it caused him to just crap all over her from being ill to begin with. He was mortified and jumped off her and then turned around to see her taking his crap and smearing herself with it. He tied his shirt around his waist and bolted, leaving everything else behind, and ran into the dorm showers one floor down to rinse his butt off and then sauntered back to us. We felt too bad for him to even tease him about it. Story 3. I had a part-time on-campus job as night manager for the college coffee shop, with responsibility for baking all the cookies for the day. One night, as I was cleaning the work area after the shop was closed and my coworkers were gone, my very kinky girlfriend stopped by, closed the door to the work area, and showed me her lack of underwear. We proceeded to bang on the work table where cookies get made. Later that month, we banged in the coffee shop itself after hours while a big college dance party was taking place literally right next door. Said very kinky girlfriend is now my wife. Just celebrated 25 years. Story 4. I went to college in Minneapolis and worked at a convenience store across the street from my apartment. One day, these two Japanese girls brought a bunch of ice cream to my counter and we talked for a bit. I found out that they were visiting from Osaka and disliked the girl they were crashing with because she was boring. So I invited them out to see a local band at First Avenue. We ended up having a great time and went back to my place to party more. My friend Mike, who was with us, went home eventually, and the girls jumped on me as soon as I locked the door. We hooked up, and the whole time I was in disbelief because, for a white guy, having a threesome with two Japanese girls is cartoon-level bucket list. Also, having a threesome wasn't as intimidating as I always thought. I had just thrown out all my furniture, including a couch and bed, because some a-hole put a great-looking couch riddled with bed bugs by the dumpster with no sign, and I unknowingly brought it to my apartment. We had all crashed in a pile of blankets and sleeping pads after fooling around. I was worried that in the morning I would have to explain to the girls and they would run away grossed out, but they were totally cool and understanding. They hated the girl they were supposed to be staying with so much that they ended up bringing all their luggage down to my place to stay with me in my unfurnished apartment. They stayed the rest of their time in Minneapolis with me and cleaned my apartment, bought me booze, and cooked delicious Japanese stew for me. I offered to drive them to the airport as it was the least I could do. On the way to the highway, one of them made me pull over at a furniture store and bought me a damn futon bed. Best thing that ever happened to me in college. If you're out there, thank you, Manami and now. Story 5. A couple of girls on my floor were going to a dance one night. I didn't go as I had work early the next morning, so I helped out with hair, makeup, and a variety of other things before going back to my room to watch a movie. As I was sitting on my bed watching my film, the door opened. A random guy came in and took off his pants. I was a bit shocked and confused, so I didn't manage to say anything while he was undressing. As soon as his pants were on the ground, I managed to speak up. I told him, "Wrong room," and he looked around, pulled up his pants, and just left. Story 6. I was kind of seeing this girl who lived in my dorm freshman year, but all we did was fool around and she never wanted to go all the way. It was frustrating because she was really cute and I was a frisky 18-year-old. One time we went out and got plastered and went back to her place. We like to fool around in the shower, so we hit the showers drunk as hell. I'm trying my best to go all the way, but it's not happening. So I throw out a Hail Mary and ask her if she would go out with me. Well, my drunk ass was surprised when she said yes, and that got her to bang me. I wake up the next morning hungover and not remembering much when I hear a, "Good morning, boyfriend," and it's her laying right next to me. Pretty sure I was still drunk and said, "What boyfriend?" She stormed out of there in an instant, and that is the shortest relationship I'd ever been in. Story 7. Alright, first year uni in the dorms. This girl asks me to buy some tequila for her. Cool. Show up at her place with 7 beers and a bottle of tequila. Some of her friends are there as well. We start doing shots of tequila, and I hate tequila, so I'm basically pounding my beer to get rid of the taste. We finish the bottle and I'm finished all my beers in under 2 hours. My last memory is the group leaving her dorm. I was informed the next day that we all went back to my dorm. I started making out with the ugly girl in the group, so everyone leaves, and I ended up banging her. At one point, my friend finds me in the bathroom trying to take a rubber off. I ask him for help. He declines and tells me to get back in there and finish what I'm doing. I do, then my roommate comes back and just barges in, sees me going to town on this miniature troll and runs out. I run after him into another dorm room with like 6 people in it. Me, standing there naked except for a rubber, tell my roommate to come back so I have an excuse to kick the girl out. He does. I then walk around naked trying to get people to smell my fingers, and most decline. I'm then caught rubbing my eye with said finger, followed by being grossed out that I was doing that. Eventually, I put some pants on and end the night laying in bed with this super cute blonde hand-feeding her M&Ms, with the fingers I had been getting everyone to smell. Story 8. Me and the girlfriend at the time were super frisky, but my roommate was in the room and asleep. So we went exploring to find a spot to do the dirty. We ended up finding a spot in a nook in the downstairs bathroom. We turned off the lights, put a towel down, and went to town. Halfway through, someone comes in to take a pee. She's riding me at the time, so we freeze and just wait for him to leave. We finished our business and left undetected. Story 9. I was a member of a club called High Society, which was pretty much a drug distribution organization funded unknowingly by the university. Once a year, we would have a boat cruise on the river, where we would consume drugs at an alarming rate while singing songs that mocked the police, who would follow us to the riverbank waiting for us to disembark. The trick was to make sure anything illegal was disposed of before they boarded. I'm convinced we are a big reason there now exists a water police division in our city. There was also the anatomy student who stole a dong from the cadaver lab and freaked out a bunch of dudes in a pub toilet by floating it down the urinal. Pretty sure he faced criminal charges but escaped jail time. Story 10. So a guy in my frat had walked onto the football team, but quit or scrubbed out after freshman year. He was still buddies with a bunch of football players, though. Walken was friends with this girl from his hometown who was also a student. She was moderately attractive, the freshman 15 had definitely done its work, but she still had huge breasts that she always displayed prominently. She was also a big partier, and had the reputation of being easy. Several guys in my frat had slept with her, and people were making fun of them because they always rumor/joke/whatever that she had STDs from getting gangbanged by Walken's football buddies. But I always assumed that was just giving people crap. So I'm down in the college town over the summer, and me, Walken, and another frat bro are hanging out one evening at a house Walken was renting with some football buddies. We're drinking and playing cards, having decided that we wouldn't go out that evening. Girl and 3 football players show up. I knew Girl from her hanging around our frat parties and kinda knew the football players through Walken. They were all linemen, i.e. fat, 300+ pound dudes. They had been at a bar nearby and had come over to do some coke. So they all start snorting coke and we continue drinking. It was the summer and hot as hell. One of the football players cranks the music and they proceed to strip down to their underwear and just dance around. Girl also strips down to her thong and is dancing around, etc. It wasn't like a strip show or anything, but she was teasing people, like rubbing her breasts in people's faces and kinda grinding on some of us that were sitting down. Anyways, after a while, one of the football players takes her to a bedroom. We start hearing banging noises and laugh about it, but then a couple minutes later, the other 2 football players head off to the room. Me and the second frat guy look at Walken, and he just kinda grins and throws up his hands. The rumors were true. So Walken is like, come on, let's check this out. We go to the bedroom door and one of the football guys is laying on the bed with Girl rocking on top of him. A second is getting jerked by her, and the third one is kinda just standing in the corner trying to jerk it, but looking like he's not having much success. Walken proceeds to drop his trousers. Me and the second frat bro decide that we don't need to see the girl get plowed by these 4 fat dudes and proceed to the kitchen to continue drinking. At some point, the guy who is trying to get it up storms out of the room yelling to high hell and barges out the back door. Later, a second football guy leaves the room and stumbles to what I assume was his bedroom. Then the girl walks out to the kitchen butt naked, grabs a bottle of booze, and takes a big pull. Walken comes out and said the third football player passed out. We drink some shots and whatnot, all while the girl was just standing around butt naked. Eventually, she says to me and the second frat bro something like, "So, do you guys want to turn before I pass out?" Given the likelihood of catching an STD and the lurking discontent of having seen those 4 dudes naked, I politely decline, as does the second frat bro. So Walken tells Girl he wants a second round and they head to his bedroom while we head home. The end. Story 11. So the first girl I went on a date with in college turned out to be pretty freaky, which to me was a plus. She talked about the tricks she had, and I was excited about the possibility of us sleeping together until we were playing Truth or Dare with each other and a story came out about how she let her dog lick peanut butter off of her kitty. I never talked to her again after that, and every time I saw her after that, I just thought about her and the dog. Ugh. Story 12. In the mid-90s, I was installing network cards for dorms connecting to the brand new 10100 switch network. Super fast upgrade over the old 10base2 network. Anyway, I walk into a dorm to assist a really lovely, really nice girl. Got her connected, got the novel Client 32 software installed, got her connected to the mapped drives, and she just kept scooting closer and closer, and she smelled great. A few minutes later, her roomie strolls in from the shower, looks at me, then her, then drops the bathrobe and starts strolling around in the nude, with me desperately trying to be professional and not look. Her friend, sitting next to me so close that our legs were touching, just shakes her head and pats me on the knee. I was wearing shorts. Then she leaves her hand there. A minute later, she stands up, faces me, unbuttons blouse, and removes bra. Then only buttons one button on blouse. One button. In that instant, she was so much more attractive than the fully nude roomie, which is what I told her. She said that I was sweet, gave me a $50 tip, then said her boyfriend was going to be there any minute. I was too confused to tell her I couldn't take a tip, and when I turned around after exiting her room, she took her blouse off completely, blew me a kiss, then closed the door. I was very confused and had trouble walking out. It was uncomfortable in my pants, and to be honest, my heart felt like it was going to explode. I only ever saw her once more a couple of months later, but didn't think she would recognize me, so I didn't say anything. I was at the local pizza parlor, a couple of places in line behind her. When it was my turn to order, the girl behind the counter said that my meal was already paid for. So weird. Story 13. I was in my freshman dorm with a buddy, and there was a party going on in another dorm. We proceeded to head over and had a few beers and decided to get high. One of the guys in the room was asking people if they wanted to do shrooms with him. I politely declined as he opened a bag and shoved what appeared to be at least an eighth into his mouth. We stayed for about another hour before someone suggested that we move the party into the orchard that was right next to the dorm building so we could smoke. So about 20 of us moved from this tiny dorm room outside. Only one of us decided to stay. Mushroom guy. We asked him several times if he wanted to come, and he said that he was fine and that he didn't want to go outside. So we enjoyed a few darts outside, and after about 45 minutes, decided to go back to the dorm room. As we were walking up the stairs to the second floor, we smelled it before we saw it. We turned the corner to the hallway and saw Shroom Guy spread eagle on the ground completely naked. And guess what? There was crap everywhere. On the floor, on the wall. It looks like he tried to make cave paintings on the walls with his own crap. He sees us and stands up and comes over and tries to hug us, but we say stay back because he has crap all over his hands and chest. His friends immediately beckon him into the dorm room and throw him in the shower. My buddy and I immediately bolted back to our dorm room. I heard that the RAs found everything the morning after and were so pissed that they went door to door and threatened to get the crap tested for DNA unless someone fessed up. Shroom Guy eventually did tell the RA and was subsequently kicked out of the dorm. Story 14. Alright kid, buckle up. This goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Freshman year. My buddies and I were all hanging out in one of our dorm rooms, a big room, probably like 6 of us with room to spare. We got really high a bit earlier and decided to set up 3 Xbox 360s and TVs in the room and dominate some team deathmatch on COD. It was pretty fun, not gonna lie, and we ran house. Anyway, about an hour later, we get a knock on the door from our RA. Nothing unusual, they did a round on Fridays and Saturdays in the freshie dorms. But then we get a knock again like 5 minutes later. Also not unusual because sometimes the RAs would try and be sneaky by closely staggering the rounds. Only, it wasn't an RA. It was about 12 people here for a party. Mostly chicks, good-looking chicks. Lights out, music blasting, and drinks poured, all before the door closed behind them. My friend and I kind of looked at each other trying to figure out if anyone had invited other people over. I still don't know to this day, but screw it. They were all familiar faces on campus to me, so we put the controllers away and join in. Not long after, I go out for another blaze sesh with a gorgeous-looking girl, and we come back to some people doing body shots off of 3 girls. My new smoking buddy just starts giggling, and I had never seen it before. 2 of the drinkers were my friends, so I cheer them on, because I think you cheer people who do that. Other people were, maybe, I don't know, who cares? I'm far gone at this point, so I have a seat in my favorite chair in the corner, down a shot of something, crack a beer, and just kind of settle in. Next thing I know, I'm getting a lap dance from my cute smoking buddy. My face. Oh, I was loving it. Then, off goes her top. Oh, Alright, I guess everyone is watching me pitch a tent because this girl was packing. But then a few other girls take their tops off too. I'm spaced out watching these jugs jiggle around the room. I'm sure most of the guys were. Clothes start flying off, here, there, and everywhere. I'm zoned out watching all these beautiful rando girls just frolicking around naked in my friend's room. I snap back to reality when I hear moaning close to my ear. One of the rando girls is getting plowed by one of the rando guys up against the wall. Then another. In my drunk stupor, I look around and witness an orgy unfold in my friend's room. People on the bed, people on the floor, people on the walls, friends and random alike, they would have been banging on the ceiling if they could. Then I realize I am the only person with clothes on. Okay, so do I join in? No. You see, getting drunk is like autism. It's all on a spectrum. And unfortunately for me, I was well beyond the point of whiskey dong drunk, teetering on brown out. I get up to leave, but then the cute smoking buddy I was with earlier, now naked and sweaty, sits me back down and tries giving me head. Sorry, babe, we got a man down tonight. So instead, she curls up in my lap and makes out with me. Probably the cutest thing anyone has ever done for me in my life. I tell her to go get a blunt ready. She does, comes and curls back up in my lap, and I start stroking her hair like some pet. Disregarding school policy and smoke alarms, I crack a window and start smoking away as I sat there and watched a sea of bodies nut all over each other. I felt like a king. Story 15. This one happened to my best friend, and it makes me laugh every time he tells this story. So, he was at a party, you know, those wild parties with big 10-gallon jugs filled with God knows what? Well, he finds this girl, they flirt, and they end up leaving together. They get back to his place and clothes come off, and they start bumping uglies. At some point, the girl, who is on top, sits up, pulls back her arm, and delivers a solid right hook. He yells, "What the hell?" And she just sits there kind of like, "What? I thought you were into that kind of thing." They proceed to finish, and he asks her to leave. He said he kept an eye on her hands the whole time. Story 16. At a bar with some friends one night. They went in to get some shots while I watched the table. Pretty girl in a really nice club outfit and collar, which I quite like, is sitting across from me at another table doing the same. We make eye contact and she smiles. Happens a couple of times. She taps the chair next to her, inviting me over, so I do. I never get flirted with, so I'm excited at this point. Sit down. Music is super loud. I can't hear a thing she's saying, but I try to pass it off like I can and make small talk. Next thing I know, when I turn my head to talk to her, she's jamming her tongue in my mouth. Hell yes. When there's a lull in the music, she whispers to me, "Do you want to get out of here?" Yup. We leave notes for our friends on the tables, this is the mid-90s, and hop in a cab. She shows the driver her student ID so he knows where to go. We're making out the whole time and just about to get down to it in the cab when he pulls up to the dorm. Get inside, no words spoken. We get to her room and on her bed and just start going all out. I'm going down on her and she starts breathing super heavily. Like, she sounded like she was hyperventilating. It was bad. I took my head up to ask her if she was okay, but she just pushed it back down. Fair enough then. It just got worse. She started sounding like a bit of an idling chainsaw and it was freaking me out a bit. So then she pulls me up and whispers in my ear asking me if I have a rubber. Unfortunately, I don't. Neither does she. Damn it, so there was no hot dog into Tuna Town that night. So I just kept going to town until she got off, sounding like a boat motor, and then we both passed out. Next morning, we wake up. She's getting dressed and nudges me. I hear a whisper. "You have to go, my roommates will be here soon." I open my eyes and I'm like, what the? She's standing there, still looking pretty as F, but the sun was now shining in the window and that collar she had on? Not a collar, it was a trach. Shame it didn't work out better. She seemed pretty awesome. Story 17. Blackout drunk. Went roaming around the apartment complex. Found a small, low-key party. Fat girl, no less than 300 pounds, was sober, or at least no more than 2 beers. Got me to go into her room. Ate her out. Never told me she was on her period. Too drunk to even realize. Woke up with blood all over my hand, naked in her bed. Couldn't find my underwear. With only shorts on, ran out of the house. Never talked to her again. She somehow found me on Facebook. She is in Facebook jail currently. Story 18. We had a handcuffed terrorist party at my roommate's girlfriend's house for her birthday. It was basically pairs of people dressed as terrorists sharing fifths between each other while zip-tied together. Finish the drink and you're free. Many things went wrong. I got stabbed in the face right below my eye when my friend was trying to cut the zip tie off with a knife. We started a bonfire in the backyard using lawn furniture and lighter fluid. We splattered her roommate's expensive shampoo all over the fridge and used hairspray and a lighter to make a torch. We were playing WrestleMania 21 on the TV at max volume the whole time. Her roommate called her dad, who came and tried to kick everyone out. He grabbed and pushed my roommate, which led to my friends tackling the dad. As the dad was screaming at my friend, he yelled at the dad, "I do coke with your daughter!" My roommate's girlfriend was kicked out of the house.